Well, good evening. This is Houndog Steve coming to you on the 7th of January, which is a Sunday evening. And first, please let me wish you a happy New Year. I hope you had a pleasant, safe time. I hope you had it with friends, in good company, moderate drinking, and much enjoyment and laughter. Okay, so what we're going to do now is a 2018 predictions show, and you can see I'm wearing my army flak jacket here because it is going to be a roller coaster 2018. We are just about to break the cold spell, the cold snap that we've been going through, and so we're going to get a little snow and 1 degree, which will feel like summer. I can assure you we've been down to minus 30s with wind chills dropping us down to about minus 36. That is pretty darn chilly. Now that's centigrade we're talking about. I'm thinking that 2018 is basically going to be a consolidation year of the changes that we saw starting in 2017. You are going to see absolutely foundational changes to the institutions that have basically held sway for certainly in the case of the government, for the last 300, 400, 500 years. But things like Hollywood and the media too are going to see some very severe changes. The government itself is really struggling with the concept of networking. And what I believe we're seeing is the final repudiation of central planning, which is basically running under the guise of globalization. Okay, I don't know how many times we have to go through this lesson, but central planning has always failed. Russia was a central planner. It failed. Most of the Balkans, central planning, failed. We're watching Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina collapse under central planning. Globalization, the European common market is basically falling apart because they're trying to unify, and at the end of the day you just cannot put things into a box and constrain them, and that is always what central planning is about, is a very fixed, rigid structure, and anybody who doesn't fit in or speaks out against it ends up in a gulag somewhere or shut down somehow, and it is that severity of control and that lack of imagination, the stifling of ingenuity and entrepreneurship really leads you down a dead-end street. And the election of Donald Trump has really just accelerated that, because Trump, being an extreme nationalist, is trying to kick all the globalist pieces off the board. Okay, so he's just accelerated a process that we were already, a good way down, and the financial end, the financial oblivion of central planning, central banks and so on and so forth, is well underway. And now, of course, the interesting thing about this is that Trump will also end up collapsing the extreme right, because in a strange way he represents both. You must remember that Trump is a Democrat and a Republican, and he is obviously exhibiting nationalism to an extreme form, the whole concept of building walls and so on and so forth, which really it won't work. It's maybe a cute idea, but it won't work, because we are changing throughout the world. We are now suddenly into networking. Okay, the internet has allowed us to rebuild our connections in a way in which it was just not possible before. What I think this is like, and I go back to the Roman times here, but when Rome was pushing east, when they hit up into the Middle East, Okay, they were using Roman numerals, which were ones, V's, X's, M's, C's. There was no zero in Roman numerals. Okay, so they got into Arabic numbering, which contains a zero. And of course, having a zero makes things a lot more efficient. It is just a step up in counting. But you can imagine, the Roman account managers, whatever they were called back in those days, they weren't used to working with a zero. It must have thrown their whole system out of the window, and they had to completely relearn a new concept that was, it was literally beyond their understanding. They never even imagined life with a zero in it. And it doesn't sound like much, but I often think what it would be like if we took a zero out of our counting system and then try to figure out how to get things done. I think we would be reeling. Well, no computer would work without a zero or a one. Okay. So this is where we are with the internet. The internet has inserted itself like the zero did, and the government, which is an extremely narrow, hierarchical, central planning. I mean, even Western governments are based on the same kind of idea. And so they're struggling. They are really struggling with trying to adapt into this networking process. And I actually don't think they're going to make it. Because, when you think about the society in which we live in today, where you can go on to Amazon.com, you can purchase an item with your credit card, and it's in the mail and at your doorstep within 3 or 4 days of placing the order. When you want to get something even simple done with the government, it has to go from council to staff to a committee to a subcommittee to an overcommittee to an undercommittee to a stakeholder committee to a I forgot what we were talking about committee and a review committee. And maybe in 5 years a decision will be made. Well, I think you're going to find that that's just not tolerable in today's society. When you have things working almost at the speed of lightning, and you're taking 5 years to make a decision on a road planning issue that really could be made in 5 minutes, just because it has to go up and down the Christmas tree and through every department that you had to get a final decision, and no public input allowed. Well, no, it's not going to work. You can see it's not going to work. And lo and behold, because really all of us, all humankind, came from a networking kind of situation. Okay, the tribal situation is the epitome of networking. Okay, we spread information by word of mouth. We work together on certain projects. We pool resources to do a particular job and then disband and move on and do another job. So you'd have, groups of people building homes of whatever kind, hunting parties, processing parties, this kind of stuff, and all the different skills would move around to get all of the work done. So all of us are just taking to the internet like ducks take to water. Okay, and so what I think of is happening is the new world community. Okay, not the new world order, the new world community. And we're going to see this push forward well into 2018. And of course, to speed this along, I think you're going to see the virtual collapse of Hollywood. I think you're going to see the continued outing. This is a depraved institution that has been the seat of the abuse of power, especially with youth. There are going to be revelations, I believe, coming out of Hollywood that are going to be so stunning that it will not be possible to recover. And I think you may find that within the media in general, and even within government, this outing is going to just get broader and deeper, that you may end up with so many people taken out of key positions that there isn't actually the expertise to deal with many of the problems dealing with the shift into the 21st century. So really, government and our major institutions, media is trying to reinvent itself, but sadly is failing every step of the way. They were the ones that brought up the whole concept of fake news, and yet they are continual purveyors of fake news. I think you're going to start to see the real push forward on AI. Wherever AI can be employed, it will be employed. And I'm hearing in spaces such as bank tellers, insurance brokers, Wall Street, stock market brokers, that kind of stuff. Why do you need a person there to tell you when everything is done by algorithm anyway? Why do I need someone to give me a quote on my car insurance when I can just go online and it is all there right in front of me? And now this is not, I understand that this is going to involve layoffs, and I'm not suggesting that that I want to see layoffs. I'd like to see as many people working as possible, of course, but you can see where these companies are going to look at this as a viable option to get away with paying benefits, paying wages. When you have an employee, you don't just have somebody who works for you. That employee also brings their life with them. So when they have a crisis at home, it's a crisis at work. The banks, I can see quite easily, would want to get rid of all of that. I think you're going to see innovations where you will get what they call a ditch witch. This is one of these backhoe type things with a scoop that digs out ditches and so on and so forth. Municipalities are going to be saying, well, why on earth do we need a driver in there when we can put a GPS and a laser guide and just set this thing off and let it go down the side road and dig out those ditches all by itself? You can have a camera on there, somebody can be monitoring 5 of those ditch witches at a time to make sure that there isn't any issues. You're going to see a lot more of that coming into play. Driverless trucks going up and down, certainly the major arteries, pulling 2 or 3 trailers. I believe that's already happening down in the US. This is going to mean a huge shift in employment. Nobody seems to want to talk about what all of these out-of-work employees are going to do. 25% of men are employed in trucking or driving in one way, shape or form. Where are all these people going to go? And more importantly, how are they going to buy into the economy? You see, all of these things are a circle. Okay, they're all joined. If you're spending all of your money on food, energy, rent and or property taxes, you're not spending in the broader economy. If you're not spending in the broader economy, then companies are not doing well, and if companies are not doing well, then stocks and shares are not doing well. So we need to have a big discussion about how we're going to resolve these issues and where the money is going to come from to pay these people and to give them some kind of gainful occupation to live out the rest of their lives if they're not going to be able to work. There's an old saying, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Okay? So huge changes on technology, AI, and the little corners that is going to squeak into. And it is going to be done because of an economic drive to beat inflation. Now, I'm hoping for an orderly rearrangement of things, and I was really very pleased when I saw Bitcoin come out of nowhere with what seems to be the perfect answer to all of our problems, just at a time when our economies are beginning to unravel. The exponential growth of interest is overwhelming the central banking system, and again, it's all around trying to control the flow of money through mathematics, when there is an obvious flaw in the fiat money system, and that is interest. The interest on the every dollar bill is unpayable, and so it grows exponentially as time passes. This shows up as inflation, and inflation means that it gets harder and harder and harder as you go down this path to be able to afford to live. And that's where we are right now. Prices are completely out of control, and incomes have nowhere near kept up with the kind of increases that you need to actually not only keep the economy thriving but save money for retirement. Okay, I think this is because, as we saw with Eaton's, as you go through generations of people, they forget where they came from, they forget the mistakes of their forefathers, and they think that it can never end. And so we have gone way beyond what is called the Minsky Moment, and this is where inflation basically wipes out your growth, where nobody can afford to live. And we've managed to bypass that actually 3 times, but I don't think we're going to dodge this next bullet. Okay, 3 times. We had 1972, we came off the gold standard because we had hit a Minsky moment, and coming off the gold standard allowed for virtually unlimited increase in debt. Okay, we had our next Minsky moment in 2007, when the whole housing market came unraveled, and we'd had over a decade of low interest policy. Okay, and we're about to hit another Minsky moment, which, as I say, I don't believe we are going to dodge that bullet. However, if we can slide smoothly into Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and some of the other more useful coins or tokens, as they call them, out there in the crypto market, this could be quite a soft landing. Yes, there will be some rearrangements, but believe you me, it will not be a total collapse. I think you're going to see Donald Trump continue his war against globalism. He is such an enigma. I've never met such a person for being hard to read. You do not know when he's bluffing or when he's being straight. So I can see that he's a great gamester. I can see that he loves to push the envelope and to be a little bit provocative with other people to see what the response is going to be. And this is a negotiation style that we haven't seen at that level of government for a long time. Maybe Khrushchev would be a comparison, and he's noted for a particular incident where he grabbed Nixon by the balls, and Nixon apparently nearly jumped through the roof. I would love to have been in the room when he did that. Yes, it's going to be in many ways unpredictable, although I do see that cryptocurrencies are going to continue to rise. I said this before, I believe that Bitcoin at some point will be the reserve currency of the world, because we will cry out for some kind of trustworthiness, some kind of integrity that cannot be achieved by any one or group of countries. And yes, I have thought about the idea that this is the perfect one world currency, that where it tracks everything, where everybody knows what you did on the blockchain. And so is this the actual goal of these oligarchs? Are we being tricked into that they'll make everybody beg, including the central banks? Because even though the central banks think they're playing the game, they're actually being played at the same time by the next level up or the next level above that. So Yes, it has crossed my mind. It has crossed my mind that cryptocurrencies could be the work of the devil. Um, but at the moment, it certainly seems as though these algorithms are what they appear to be. Shell and BP have adopted blockchain architecture for energy futures trading, and I'm pretty certain that they have hired every hacker and every computer whiz that money could buy, before they would consider committing billions to this algorithm, the Bitcoin architecture. Because the word coin is actually very misleading. The architecture is an algorithm. It's open source, it's there for all to see. And so I think by that you can tell that it is a valid structure, and they said the reason they're getting into this is because it eliminates fraud, which is exactly what its creators wanted to achieve, is the eradication of fraud. So you'll see that I'm wearing my flak jacket, and this is for a good reason, because I think we're going to need our flak jackets going into 2018. I think the weather is going to continue to pose a problem. I think you're going to see more longer springs. We just had a cold snap beyond belief, and now here we are, we're going into snow tomorrow, 1 degree, and Thursday is going to be 5 degrees and rain. And so this is climate change 101, and what we're going to see is a roller coaster. I do thank my lucky stars, although I know we are a little bit north, and I don't know how this is really going to affect these northern areas, but at least in Canada, we are prepared for cold weather. We all have clothing to cope with cold weather. Our vehicles are equipped with block heaters, that kind of stuff. We have 67 snowplows in City of Quarter Lakes. This is for about 1,500 kilometers of highway to clear, and really the highways are never blocked for more than a day. It's unbelievable when you think about what has to be done to keep these highways clear. And these boys and girls are out there all night long. Sometimes they ride over Christmas keeping the roads clear. I heat with wood at home, so I could actually be completely independent of hydro if I could for a short period of time. I have some water, I have some supplies, so yeah, we are equipped up here at least for some rough weather, because I think you're going to see, like I said, this continued roller coaster. You're not going to know whether it's going to be a really hot summer or a cool summer. Certainly on the East Coast, wow, have they ever got hit with snow and cold? Tens of thousands of people without hydro, and this cold is going right the way down to Pensacola. Swimming pools are freezing over in Pensacola. This is unheard of. So I do believe we're going back into a little ice age. I think we're going to have a cooling period, and that the sun is slowing down, and that we need to consider that in our future planning and prepare for that. So as I say, the year 2018 will be a challenging year, because there will be many changes, and it will be up to us to adapt to those changes. We do have this year to prepare, I believe, but I'm thinking by the time we get into the winter of 2018-2019, we are going to start to see some significant changes to our weather patterns. So hang on to your hats, folks, and other than that, I think have fun preparing. Have fun forming community, finding out what community means again. That's what's going to be important in 2018. And of course, we in Ontario have 2 elections coming up. In June we have the provincial election coming up, and there is much controversy about the scandal which has been surrounding our provincial government, the Liberals and Kathleen Wynne. And in the fall, November, we have our municipal elections, and that is going to be extremely interesting. In Quarter Lakes here we're dropping from 16 councillors and 16 wards down to 8 councillors and 8 wards. So I can expect there will be a lot of people running in each ward, and this is going to make for an exciting and competitive election. And also we're switching over to electronic voting, so it's going to be interesting to see how we take to that. I personally don't like that idea. I feel that in the case of municipal, provincial and federal elections, there should always be a paper ballot involved that can be recounted if necessary. This is so important to maintain transparency and trust in the electoral process. Anyway, this is Houndog Steve signing off. Please like and subscribe below, and click on that little bell. It really does help when you do that, because it keeps you up to date with all of my new videos. And so you take care, you stay warm, and we will talk to you soon. See ya. Bye now.